Welcome, seekers of the strange, to Unveiling the Unusual. I'm your host, Elowen Cross, and tonight we venture back thousands of years to an ancient land where rivers ran red, darkness swallowed the sky, and nature itself seemed to rise in rebellion. The 10 Plagues of Egypt, one of the most haunting and powerful stories of divine intervention ever recorded. But could these devastating events have been more than just miracles or punishment? Could there be a scientific explanation hidden beneath the sands of time? Tonight, we explore the mystery, the history, and the unsettling possibility that one single event may have set off a chain reaction, turning Egypt into a land of chaos. This is Case 7, what really caused the 10 Plagues of Egypt. The story of the plagues is central to the book of Exodus. According to the text, Moses and his brother Aaron approached Pharaoh, demanding that the Israelites be freed from slavery. When Pharaoh refused, the plague struck, 10 relentless calamities that shattered the land one after another. But there's something curious about the story. If such catastrophic events occurred, why don't we see more references to them in ancient Egyptian records? Some scholars argue that Egyptian scribes, known for their devotion to preserving royal legacy, may have intentionally omitted records of such disasters to avoid documenting divine failure. Others suggest that fragments of the plague's impact do exist, hidden within myth, hieroglyphs, and even scientific evidence waiting to be pieced together. For centuries, historians and theologians have debated whether the plagues were divine punishment, an elaborate metaphor, or a historical reality. But what if there was another answer? A cataclysm so powerful that it set into motion a series of disasters that were remembered for millennia. To understand what may have caused the plagues, we need to look far beyond Egypt, to an island in the Aegean Sea, known today as Santorini. Around 1600 BCE, this island was home to a powerful civilization, the Minoans. But one day, their world quite literally exploded. The eruption of the Thera volcano was one of the most violent in recorded history. Modern estimates suggest it was as powerful as hundreds of atomic bombs detonating simultaneously, sending shockwaves across the Mediterranean. The blast was so immense that it collapsed part of the island, generating tsunamis that crashed onto nearby shores. But the most devastating effects were in the atmosphere. Ash clouds that darkened the sky, poisoned the air, and disrupted climates across the ancient world. Could this distant eruption have triggered the plagues of Egypt? It sounds far-fetched, but history has shown us time and again that volcanic eruptions don't just impact their immediate surroundings. They send ripples through time, affecting weather, agriculture, and civilizations thousands of miles away. The Nile, Egypt's lifeline, suddenly transforming into blood, sounds like a divine omen. But volcanic eruptions release vast amounts of sulfur dioxide and iron into the atmosphere, which, when carried by wind and deposited into waterways, can fuel toxic red algae blooms. The specific type of algae suspected, Oscillatoria rubescens, turns water a deep crimson, depleting oxygen and suffocating fish. With their natural balance thrown into chaos, the Nile's ecosystem would have collapsed, setting the stage for what came next. With the Nile poisoned and oxygen levels plummeting, frogs, who rely on clean water, would have fled the river en masse, seeking refuge on land. Swarms of desperate amphibians, their normal habitats destroyed, would have invaded homes, temples, and streets. But without their aquatic environment, they wouldn't survive for long, and their deaths, a feast for insects. Decaying frogs, dead fish, and a rapidly deteriorating ecosystem. Perfect breeding conditions for swarms of lice and flies. Without natural predators to keep them in check, their populations would have exploded, tormenting people and animals alike. But worse than their presence was what they carried: disease. Flies don't just bite, they spread bacteria. And in ancient Egypt, livestock were crucial: oxen for ploughing, cattle for food, donkeys for transport. As the flies swarmed, they likely introduced anthrax or another fast-spreading infection, killing the animals and soon after, infecting humans. Boils, described as painful sores covering the skin, align closely with bacterial infections caused by contaminated water and insect bites. To an ancient civilization, it would have seemed like the body itself was rebelling, the divine punishment worsening. Hail and fire from the sky seems almost supernatural. But if Thera's eruption was still affecting the atmosphere, it's scientifically plausible. Volcanic ash creates extreme weather patterns, fueling violent storms. Hail the size of stones could have rained down, along with lightning igniting dry fields, creating the illusion of fire from the sky. With damaged crops and disrupted rainfall patterns, locusts, already common in the region, would have found the perfect conditions to thrive. Swarming in vast clouds, they would have stripped Egypt's remaining food supply to nothing. Ash clouds from volcanic eruptions have plunged entire regions into darkness before. In 1815, the eruption of Mount Tambora caused the year without a summer, where ash blocked the sun, leading to failed harvests and climate shifts. If Thera's eruption had a similar effect, it could explain why Egypt fell into eerie, prolonged darkness. And finally, the most terrifying plague, the death of the firstborn. One scientific theory suggests that mold-contaminated grain, known as mycotoxins, could have poisoned Egypt's food supply. Since firstborn sons often received the first portion of food, they would have been the first victims. So, do these scientific explanations mean the plagues were purely natural? Not necessarily. For those who believe in divine intervention, these events don't diminish faith. They reinforce the idea that nature itself can be a tool of the divine. If the plagues were timed with precision, if each disaster unfolded in a sequence too perfect to be random, does that not make them just as miraculous? And for those who seek a rational explanation, history and science suggest that real disasters shaped the stories that endured. Could ancient Egyptians have witnessed these events, passed down their memory, and unknowingly recorded a chain reaction of nature's fury? Ultimately, whether you believe the 10 plagues were a punishment from the heavens, a rare sequence of natural events, or something in between, the mystery remains. Join me next time on Unveiling the Unusual as we explore another enigma lurking in the shadows of history. Until then, keep your eyes open, your mind sharp, and remember, the unusual is often hiding in plain sight.